Sometimes we need to remind ourselves who the hell we are. It's so easy to lose ourselves, to become invisible, and to forget what we've actually been through. There is great value in taking the time to reflect, to look back on those key events that you have been through, those experiences that you have had that not only have got you to where you are right now, but also have shaped you. It's not always easy to see the real impact of the experiences we've had in real time. Sometimes it can take us years to really understand the significance of these moments. But once you start to reflect and look back over your life, you can really build some self-awareness, and you can really notice the patterns and the turning points that led you to where you are today. And here's the great stuff. Once we hit our 50s, there is plenty for us to look back on. I'm sure you're exactly like me, and you've had your fair share of struggles, of triumphs. And whilst we may not have signed up for some of the experiences we've received, they've certainly all contributed and given us valuable lessons. And through my own personal experiences and through the work that I do with other people in their midlife, I've definitely come to understand that it's the tough times, it's the unexpected times, and it's those brave moments that we take when we realize and we question, is this a risk I'm about to take, or an absolute banging opportunity that has to be taken? I love reflection exercises because there is always so much to gain from them. And I probably could have done 100 key moments. However, I want to keep this video under half an hour. And so I've picked 6 defining moments in my life that really cracked me open and changed who I was forever. Let's get started. Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Start Over and Rise. I'm Sara, your Start Over coach. And if you are new to me, welcome. It's so great to have you here. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I hope to deliver great value for you again today. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment with anything that comes up for you today. So as I said earlier, I could have picked hundreds of these because let's face it, when you've been walking around on this planet for over 50 years, there are plenty of experiences that we can draw upon that have shaped who we are today. But I wanted to pick some slightly different ones. So I haven't gone down the road of when I had children and when I got married and things like that, because whilst those are life-changing, I wanted to pick the ones that are slightly different so that it may help you spark some inspiration into looking into your past and what has made you who you are today. These are 6 experiences that really shook me up in some way, definitely involved some form of adrenaline, and helped me rise and grow as a result. And as you're listening, I would love for you to question yourself. What can I take from this? What does this remind me of? What have I been through that has really shaped and helped me? So, number 1. At 18, I moved from a small Hampshire village to London, and I went to university. Now, this was massively changing for me. Any experience of moving away from home for the first time is huge, but the environment that I suddenly found myself in was astronomically different to where I grew up. So not only did I have to get used to looking after myself and doing my own washing and all of those things that you learn when you first go away to university or first live on your own, but it was a real cultural shock for me. In addition to learning to be independent, managing my finances, having to be adaptable, learning plenty of new personal skills, and really getting to know who I was, I also found myself in one of the most exciting cities in the world. It introduced me to massive amounts of diversity. I met people from all over the world, from all different types of backgrounds, and it really opened my eyes up to the opportunities out there. I learned how to be streetwise, how to make sure I was safe. I got involved in all sorts of new activities and things I'd never done before. Experiencing the sheer energy of a big city, having only ever lived in a small village, was life-changing. It was incredibly exciting. Sometimes it was scary, But it really taught me that I could be adaptable and that there were so many different types of environments that I was responsive to and that were out there for me to experience was massively life-changing. But more than anything, it was an experience that really showed me that just because something is different and it's scary, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. I learned how to meet new people, engage with new people, ask for help. So many lessons, so many lessons. And it really was the beginning at 18 years old where I really started to recognize that I had some self-confidence. I learned how to trust myself, trust my instincts, and certainly taught me how to get curious about things that I didn't understand or hadn't experienced before. So it was definitely one of the big, impactful experiences of my life that I am so very grateful that despite being scared, I went for it anyway. So the second one that I want to bring up today is kind of connected to the first, but it was the first experience I'd had where I chose people over pay. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, as a fresh graduate in business studies, I wanted to stay in London. And so I went job hunting. And there were loads of graduate schemes and all sorts of opportunities that were available to me. And I was really lucky in that I was offered quite a few different jobs. Now, what I mean by I chose people over pay was some of the graduate schemes that I went because I thought I should. They were big brand retailers who were taking on loads of different types of students and promising a long career. And on the surface of it, they seemed the sensible thing to do. When you grow up with parents who are supportive and they want you to do the very best, often they want you to take the safest option as well. I'd been for quite a few of these interviews, but there were some that really excited me. And there were some that, quite honestly, I just felt I would be bored to tears. So I made a decision. Having worked my way through university, I'd already had some experience of different work placements, different work environments, and I knew what drained me and I knew what excited me. So despite having these sensible, well-paid options, I went with the option that I felt most aligned with. And it was a risk, but I have to say it was the best thing I ever did. I took a job in sales. It was in the media industry, and I wanted to hone my sales skills. I was a marketing graduate, but I felt it was a lot more fun. And I thought if I had business, if I had sales, if I had marketing, then when it came to later on in life and having my own business, I thought I would get some really good grounding. Now, whilst the job offers in terms of pay, this one wasn't the highest, it turned out to be the absolute best thing for me. And my career progressed massively. After that, I never took a job if I didn't like the people or if I didn't feel aligned with the values of the company. I turned it down. And I always went for things that excited me. That is such a big turning point because later in life, I made the mistake of going back to a sensible option. I knew when I took the job, I wasn't fully aligned with the values and it nearly broke me. Now, it doesn't matter where I was or what job I was doing, but the lesson was I went against that little rule that I'd given to myself. So now you'll often hear me talking about fun, fulfillment, and freedom. And I didn't realize until I went back over this, I had actually made that first decision when I was 23 years old. And it was the best thing that I ever did. And it was a wonderful thing to remind myself. And not only did it help me with my career, but it also helped me with that turning point when I decided that it was time to leave my corporate career and start my own business. Had I not made that decision back then and had that experience, I would never have known. And I could have been stuck burning out in job after job because I just wasn't aligned. So how about you? Have you had an experience like that, which on the surface is about something else? It's about accepting a job. But the reality is the reasons why I accepted that job and the payoff that came as a result, priceless. Number 3. Solo travel adventures. Now, I haven't done anywhere near as much solo traveling as I would like to do, but in my 20s and even in the start of my 30s, I had I've had several trips where I have got on a plane, I've been on my own, and I have booked an adventure and off I have gone. These experiences were priceless. When you travel by yourself, you push yourself. You meet people that you wouldn't necessarily meet if you were with someone else. You might find yourself going to particular areas that you would never go if you were with somebody who didn't want to do the same thing. I did a little trip to Germany. I've done things through work. I've done things through pleasure. I went to Turkey and learned how to windsurf for 2 weeks all by myself. I've had some incredible adventures. When you're not relying on someone or have that safety net of someone else being with you, you really feel everything. Those trips taught me about resilience. They taught me how to step forward even when I was scared. They taught me about the kind of courage that I've got. They certainly taught me a lot about who I am in terms of my personality. And I definitely worked out that I was someone who could make friends really easily. It also taught me how to ask for help. There is so much freedom to be gained by stepping out of your comfort zone. And if you can do things in different environments, maybe where you don't even speak the language, and you can get through it, it certainly helps you when you come to doing anything out of your comfort zone. It teaches you just take the next step. So how has this helped me in recent years? Oh my gosh, so many. When I was going through my divorce and I was first getting used to 50-50 parenting and I suddenly had some free time and I had friends that were all married or busy with their families and I had some spare time. Getting involved in activities where I didn't know anybody, I'd never done things before. It was so much easier to tap in and say, this isn't my first rodeo. I can do this again. And although it may have been decades in some instances, it was easy just to remind myself that I'm perfectly capable of doing this and to just go ahead and do it. It was wonderful to be able to tap into some of the things that I'd done when I was younger and remind myself, I am still that person. I can do this again. So if you've never traveled solo before, put it on your list. It is something that you will get so many wonderful surprises. You'll have some brilliant experiences and you may learn some lessons as well. But everything will be valuable. If you want to get to know yourself quickly, definitely book a solo trip. Number 4, being made redundant. Now, I've mentioned this before and I'll probably mention it again, but it was a life-changing event. Because let's face it, what is redundancy? At the end of the day, you are being told that what you have been doing is no longer required. You are surplus to requirements. And that hits hard, right? Even if it's something that you would like to happen, when it actually happens, it can very easily send you into a bit of a negative spiral. It's also something that can just come out of the blue and really take you by surprise. So when I was made redundant, it came at a time when everything was going brilliantly in my life. I could not falter it. I just bought my second property. I had up-leveled. I'd taken on the biggest mortgage of my life. My career was going from strength to strength. And then I was made redundant. I didn't see it coming. It was a total surprise. But I very quickly had the maturity. And I guess because of some of my previous experiences and really understanding who I was able to tap into, hang on a minute, I can either see this as, oh my God, this is just the worst thing ever to happen to me. And I'm not going to lie, for a few days, that was exactly how I felt. However, I soon realized that there were some things that I wasn't quite happy with in my life. And maybe this was now a great opportunity for me to take a little bit of time out. After all, I had a redundancy payment. I did the figures. I knew I didn't have to panic. And I could take just that little bit of breathing space to really figure out, what did I want to do next? What could this actually lead to? Now, what happened there was when I started to turn it around from disaster and something that was so unfair and out of my control, that thinking wasn't going to help me, to, okay, so this has happened. How can I make myself feel safe? What other opportunities are out there? And my goodness, it turned out to be a wonderful experience in that I ended up taking a job that gave me a next step in my career and took me to going to working and living in Dubai for the next 4 years. You never know what's around the corner. And if we're in a place of panic, we can't see the good. So, if you've ever had something like this happen to you, and I know plenty of people who have had something like this happen, and it was instrumental in maybe them starting their own business or moving to another location like I did, it is all how we react to these situations. It gave me that level of resilience that, you know what, when life curveballs come your way, and it's something that you didn't expect, it doesn't necessarily mean that what happens next is going to be bad. Now, in terms of life skills, that's an incredible lesson to learn. So I'm very, very grateful that that happened to me at that time, because so much happened in my life after that. And I don't think those things would have necessarily happened had I not been made redundant at that time. It also taught me that nothing is a sure bet. I had a strong career with a very reputable company, and sometimes people find that really safe. But it taught me that it wasn't safe, right? Because things can change at any moment. What wonderful skills to take through the rest of your life. Number 5. Now, this was the wake-up call that changed everything for me in the last 4 years. So this option is about how we choose to live our life. Now, in April 2021, my body hit the brakes. I'm going to be honest, this is actually the 3rd time in my life that physically my body gave up on me. I'm talking about burnout here. So in April 2021, I had an incredibly scary experience. I knew that my stress levels were pretty high. I was living in rented accommodation. I was getting used to 50-50 time with my children when, up until my ex and I separated, I'd never had more than 6 nights away from my children, ever. And they were in their teens. So there was a lot going on. We were also going through divorce, and at that time it was incredibly stressful. And one evening I suddenly realized that my left side of my face was completely numb. And in actual fact, it felt like water was trickling under my skin. It was horrific. I was experiencing pins and needles in my arms and my legs. And I also had really fast breathing, and I felt tight across my chest. If I'm honest, I called 111. I thought I was having some kind of stroke. Luckily, my children were with their father at the time, and the ambulance arrived. They checked me over, and they decided they were going to take me into hospital for observation. Now, over the next 24 hours, I was there alone, and it was a life-changing experience because I had loads of tests. They were really trying to find out what was going on with me. And in the end, they put it down to stress. I could not believe that my body could be so physically in pain due to stress. It taught me a very valuable lesson, because while I was lying there thinking that, was I having a stroke? What was just about to happen? Was I just about to have a heart attack? It all sound very, very dramatic, but it was. I realized that actually I was dealing with an awful lot of things. And it wasn't just the circumstances, but it was how I was dealing with things. I was carrying around unnecessary guilt, unnecessary shame. I was carrying around lots of other people's opinions on how I should be living my life, what I should be asking for through my divorce, all of these kind of things. And the pressure was huge. I was taking on so much of bullshit stories that we tell ourselves. So this experience took me to a place where I couldn't live like that. How can I continue to live like this? I cannot keep being so negative towards myself. I cannot hate myself the way I hated myself at that time. I was so awful to myself. I was so negative. I would have gone into victim mode. I felt like I was completely out of control of everything that was going on. That is when everything changed. I decided that I'm going to choose to live my life differently. I'm going to choose to react in a different way to things that happen to me. I'm going to choose to be kinder to myself. I was choosing to put myself first. I was certainly choosing to really think about my mental health, my physical health, and really looking after myself, because this was a moment where I decided staying the same was no longer an option. And it changed everything. It was the start of my personal development, my real desire to understand who I am, what triggers me, what gets me mad, what do I really want in my life? How do I want to parent now? What kind of person do I want to be? And I'm forever grateful for that particular moment happening, because sometimes we need to hit a rock bottom to really start to question, what the hell am I doing? So that combination of stress, understanding ADHD, and emotional overload all culminated in me understanding that when I feel something physical, I need to question what's going on. And who knew that all of those things and experiencing an identity crisis could actually put you in hospital? Well, my friends, it can. So if you are feeling the stress levels going up, if you are feeling overloaded and overwhelmed, please, please start to listen to your body. Become self-aware. Really track, like, how is your mood? How do you feel physically? Do you feel pain anywhere? Are you even starting to get used to it? It's easily done. There's no judgment here, but that experience certainly taught me about the importance of self-awareness and looking after yourself, learning to put yourself first. Because if you don't look after yourself, you certainly are not in a place to be looking after anybody else. And the final thing that experience taught me was I realized that I had been trying to people please everyone. And one of the things I really learned about people pleasing is the ones that we seem to try and please the most are always the ones that are never satisfied. Now, when you realize that, you stop. You stop instantly, because you realize that your reasons for trying to please those people are all wrong. So it was really instrumental in me really coming back to the basics. What is important in my life? What is important to me and those that I love and cherish the most? And it really helped me go right back to basics, let a lot of things go, because it just wasn't important enough and it didn't deserve my focus, my time, money, and energy. Life is too short. And that brings me to my final one. Now, if this has happened to you, it's likely to if you're in your 50s now. But back in 2023, I lost my mum. We lost her too early. And very quickly, in the space of 12 weeks, we went from noticing the first symptoms to losing her to an aggressive cancer. Now, if you have lost a parent that you are close to, you will understand everything that I am just about to say, I am sure. It not only was a shock, but it did change me forever. You think as you get older and you're in your 50s, you're like, yeah, I've got a mum and it's great and all of those things. But when you lose them, when you lose that parent, you lose your anchor. That was it. It was kind of, oh my God, I don't have a mum anymore. And whilst that might sound like a little insane, especially when you are a parent, it really rocks your world. It also taught me that we really cannot take life for granted. We cannot take that we always get tomorrow, because we don't. There are plenty of people that we now have in our lives that maybe we've lost. And it really is important to try and find the good, the lessons, because otherwise these tragic, pointless deaths that are happening around us. Losing mum taught me so much. It taught me how fragile we actually are. It taught me how important it is to really look after ourselves and not keep putting it off, especially as we enter midlife, right? It's a case of we've got to live our lives now. Tomorrow is never guaranteed. It's important to really understand what is important and to make time for those things that we really value and those people that we love dearly. It's about telling them that you love them every day. It's about being kind and empathetic. It's about being there for the people you want to be there for. And it really is about living your life and doing the things, not putting things off. My mum had lots of dreams and things that she wanted to do, and she'll never get the opportunity to do those things now. So it's definitely taught me that don't wait. Get on, do the things that you want to do. It has given me such clarity over what really matters and how I really value the time, the connections, and finding the joy in everything. Choosing to be happy, choosing to be grateful for what we have right now. Really, really valuable lessons. I'm lucky in that I have amazing memories and I think about her every single day, but it's definitely changed me forever. And whilst I didn't wish for the experience, I am grateful for the things it has brought out in me that wouldn't necessarily have happened at this time in my life had she not gone when she did. So those are mine. 6 moments, 6 massive shifts, and a whole lot of learning from every single one of those experiences. So I'd love to hear from you. What are the experiences that you can look back on that have shaped who you are today? What did they teach you? What have you gained from those experiences? If you're watching on YouTube, pop the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Did any of those moments resonate for you? And if you're listening on the podcast, feel free to message me via Instagram. You can find me on @startoverandrise. It's so important to honor the journeys that we have been on. And if you got value from today's episode, please like and subscribe or follow. And if there's anything that I've spoken about today that you would like to know more about, then let me know. I will happily include them in some future episodes. Or if you've got a question, let me know. And don't forget to check out the other episodes. This podcast and YouTube channel is really beginning to grow now. The content is getting more and more. And let me know if there's anything in particular you would like me to dive on into. I've got stacks of ideas for episodes, but it would be great to hear from you as well. What would you like to start over and rise with? Maybe just one element of your life, or it might be a complete overhaul of your life. Whatever it is that you want to change in midlife and beyond, you can do that. So I want you to remember, it is never too late to make a change, and it's never too early to start over and rise from where you are right now to where you want to be. You can make that shift happen. I'll see you in the next episode. You take care. Bye.